In this demo, we'll showcase a financial AI workflow, or a Thunk, designed to augment the human in a fraud review process. Here's the scenario. There are some transactions in a bank or a remittance platform that are flagged by an internal system as potentially fraudulent. The role of a fraud associate is to review the transaction details, the sender, recipient, payment history, and other context against company-specific policies and guidelines to determine whether the transfer should be blocked or allowed. This is a high-stakes scenario, and also one that is highly manual today. Associates dig into details, cross-check evidence, and compare everything against SOPs while piecing together the story to decide on the likelihood and type of fraud. It's repetitive and time-consuming, and human factors like fatigue, error, or bias can impact consistency. This is also a process where productivity gains only matter if AI can deliver high accuracy and quality. And that's exactly what the Thunk.AI platform is designed to do. Automate a review workflow such as this one with a high degree of specificity and reliability while keeping decisions grounded entirely in an organization's SOPs. Let's take a look at this Thunk in action. Here's a Thunk for identifying fraud category and likelihood of fraud in incoming transactions. Here you're seeing a list of transactions that my AI has already processed and made a call on what type and likelihood of fraud it might contain. Let's jump into one example and look at this in more detail. For every transaction screen that a human reviews, my AI has access to the screenshot and instructions to extract data from the image and identify risk and non-risk signals using the organization's SOPs for context. My AI reads SOPs in full and uses them as a foundation for its reasoning when it's reviewing a transaction. For example, in this particular transaction, my AI has read the sending pattern chart and payment profile summary and identified a few risk and non-risk signals. For example, it has called out that this particular transaction has a high number of deleted payment profiles, 4 out of 5. And according to a certain SOP, this presents a known risk factor. It has also identified that there are a few non-risk signals. For example, the transaction activity seems consistent over time, and the address and AVS match on the active payment profile. And according to certain other SOPs, these are non-risk signals. This deep understanding of each transaction screen against company guidelines culminates in a risk signal summary and a final judgment of fraud likelihood and type. Let's take a look at the results my AI generated for the fraud review associate. First, my AI prepares a detailed risk signal summary document for the associate. This collates all the information that it had parsed from transaction images and the likelihood and severity of risk across various dimensions. It uses this information to also recommend a final review to the user. Here you see my AI is recommending a review path with the strongest evidence, recording likelihoods and pointing the user directly to supporting details from the transaction images. It also shows the user probabilities across other scenarios, flagging for fraud only when strong evidence outweighs counter signals. Finally, for mitigations or next steps, it pulls the SOP tied to that classification and outlines the next critical steps for the associate with links back to the source policy. All of this information, along with the risk signal summary, essentially allow the associate to make fast, confident decisions on this transaction. The productivity gains from such a repeatable, reliable workflow are quite significant. Faster reviews, fewer errors, and more consistent outcomes that stay tightly aligned with the SOPs. Additionally, when a new SOP is introduced or evolving fraud pattern is documented, it can be fed directly into the Thunk. No retraining, no delays. The new rules take effect immediately, ensuring that the next transaction that comes into the workflow always reflects the latest company guidance. Thank you so much for watching this demo.